You ever watch your own firewood walk off in the middle of the night, knowing damn well it wasn't the wind, but somebody with too much nerve and too little shame? Yeah, that's how my war with Marcia Kenton started, though, back then. I still thought you could reason with a bully. Let me tell you, the day she stole the memorial I carved for my son and slapped it up in her yard like a trophy, grinning at me from behind that clipboard, that's when something inside me snapped. And you know what? Maybe it needed to. The air was so sharp that winter you could feel it bite straight through your socks. And I remember thinking as I pulled on my old army coat zipper, still half broke after all these years, maybe today would be the day I caught whoever was swiping my firewood. Didn't take a genius to figure out something was up. Not when the pile was always coming up short by a couple seasoned oak logs, and definitely not the third time in a month. I'd split every log myself, stacked them just so made it feel like keeping a light on for Michael, our son. That little sign, Branson Firewood Leases Painted Flame, wasn't just a marker, it was memory, and now it was gone. I just stood there staring at the spot where the sign should have hung, feeling the cold rage creep in. And wouldn't you know it, here came the click-clack of Marcia's heels slicing through the dawn like a warning bell. Clipboard hugged tight-pressed slacks, that saccharine smile she reserved for her subjects. "Morning, Tom," she chirped, eyes never missing a detail. She sniffed at my woodpile, started quoting bylaws about uniform stacking like the world was going to end if my logs leaned left. I told her straight, someone's been stealing my wood. Someone took my son's sign. She acted like she cared, head cocked all fake concern, then slid right into threatening fines for community standards. Left me fuming in the cold, already plotting her next move before she'd even left my driveway. Lisa, bless her, said we could make another sign, but it wasn't the wood. Wasn't even the sign. It was the principle. That night I didn't sleep. The next day I drove to the hardware store, came home with a motion sensor floodlight and a trail cam, one of those tough little things you hide in a birdhouse. Set it all up, made myself a promise next time I'd have proof. A week passed, not a soul near my woodpile until, bam, eighth night, the backyard lit up like Times Square at 2:17 a.m. Watched the footage the next morning, coffee in hand, heart pounding. There she was, clear as daylight, Marcia Kenton in all her midnight glory, shoving my wood into a canvas bag. She grabbed a couple extra logs for good measure, strutted off like she owned the world. I took that video to the next HOA meeting, clubhouse basement, fluorescent lights, the smell of burnt coffee and disinfectant, you know the type. Marcia and her little inner circle at the head table, bored neighbors filling the cheap chairs. I stood up, reported the theft, said I had evidence. Marcia, cool as ice, said she was just performing hazard abatement. Somehow my perfectly stacked logs had become a community threat. Then she fined me $250, handed me the form like a participation trophy for suffering. Didn't even look at her, just walked out. And there, right in her yard beside that pristine porch swing, was my son's sign slathered in cheap white paint letters barely showing through the flame, just a sad red smear. Felt like losing him all over again. Not a violation anymore, but desecration. That night I typed up a formal complaint, sent the video, explained what the sign meant. You know what I got? A letter dismissing my complaint, doubling my fines, and threatening to put a lien on my house if I didn't pay up in 30 days. 40 years in this home, and now it was at risk over firewood. The letters started rolling in loose gutter screw, unsafe workshop wiring. Mine was safer than City Hall. I'll tell you that hood up on my old pickup. More fines. Carl Jensen, Marcia's enforcer, even climbed a ladder to snap pictures over my back fence like some failed mall cop with a vendetta. The bills hit $900. Lisa begged me to pay. But if you give a bully your lunch money, all you get is hungrier. So I took that stack of violations, grabbed my red enamel paint, and marched out to my fence. Painted, paid in full in giant block letters. By noon, a picture of it was all over the local veterans Facebook group, comments pouring in from folks with Marcia horror stories of their own. For the first time, I realized I wasn't alone. Of course, it split the neighborhood. Half the folks gave me thumbs ups. Others wouldn't look me in the eye, scared Marcia would turn her wrath on them next. That fear is how people like her stay in power. So I went back to my shop, dug out my old Army blueprints, a campfire flash simulator, harmless but impressive. Built a few fake logs, filled them with magnesium and aluminum powder, nothing deadly, just enough for a spectacular show. Restocked my pile, waited for her to take the bait. Didn't have to wait long. Got an invite to Marcia's annual HOA barbecue. Her backyard, her rules attendance. Not mandatory, but everyone knew what that meant. Lisa was sick about it, but I told her we had to go keep up appearances. Earl, my neighbor, came with us. Old firefighter Michael's friend. He wore his Union shirt, stood by me all night. I brought a new hickory walking stick fitted with a tiny camera just under the handle. Needed every angle for what was coming. Marcia made a big show, her eco-wood program, sustainable pre-seasoned firewood, all from my pile. Everyone gathered on her patio as she lit her fancy stone fireplace, my logs front and center. She struck the lighter, flames caught, and then boom, a blinding white flash. A cannon crack of noise and a cloud of smoke so thick you could lose a marching band in it. Marcia stood there, hair frazzled, her pure white suit now a patchwork of gray. The patio erupted not with gasps, but laughter. Phones came out. Someone snorted, and that was it. Months of fear, shattered by one ridiculous, humiliating moment. Did she back down? Nope. Marcia called the police, spun a story about a neighbor planting explosives, sent a rant to the whole HOA, accused me of terrorism. But this time people weren't buying it. I walked into the emergency HOA meeting with a projector and my walking stick. Played the trail cam video, Marcia stealing my wood at 2 a.m. Showed her own Facebook post bragging about her eco-wood initiative. Then the bolt cutter video, breaking and entering plain as day. Crowd turned on her just like that. Sandra, the treasurer, pale as a ghost. Carl already stepping back from her side. Then the police came, but this time it was Marcia they took to the station, charges for theft, trespassing, filing a false police report. Fallout came fast. Marcia packed up, moved out in the dead of night. HOA board called a real meeting, apologized, voted to pay back every cent they'd fined me. Elected Earl President, chose neighbors who cared about people, not power. Felt like breathing for the first time in months. Sandra brought back Michael's sign from the evidence locker, wrapped in a blanket, apologized with tears in her eyes. I didn't scrub off the white paint. Instead, I took black paint, traced the letters bold again, repainted the flame, made it ours. A week later, the new board held a work party, tore out Marcia's cracked fireplace, built a community fire pit, and mounted Michael's sign next to a bronze plaque in memory of all fallen firefighters who run toward the fire when everyone else runs away. That night, with half the neighborhood gathered around the flames, I finally felt home again. You know, sometimes standing up isn't about shouting or swinging back. It's about refusing to let someone else write your story. Sometimes you fight fire by building something brighter, warmer, out of the ashes. So let me ask you, what would you have done when the clipboard tyrants come for your home? Do you stand your ground or do you give in? Drop your story in the comments. And hey, if you believe justice should burn brighter than any bully's threat, hit that subscribe button. Let's keep the fire lit.